Jessica asks, what if I don't have enough space in my home to start a preschool? Can I still do it? Absolutely, Jessica. Yes, you can. So I want to remind you that there are two tracks you can go down, right? You can start a local preschool or you can start an online preschool. So we're going to teach you about both of those tracks and how you can do it, even if you feel like you don't have enough space in your home. First, let's talk about a local preschool. Now, local preschool, you might think you need like an extra room in your home dedicated to preschool or a basement or a bonus room or something like that, or even a converted garage, but you don't. And in fact, I started my preschool in my home, even though I felt it was a super small home. I mean, I believe my home only had 1,400 square feet at the time, and it was pretty small. So, but you know what we did have? We had a kitchen, a living room, and that was enough for us. So let me tell you how you could do it in that space. In the kitchen, you can do your arts and crafts, you can do your snack time. And in your living room, you can do your circle time, your beginning and closing circle. You can do your story time. You can do your center time. And you can also use your kitchen table also for center time as well. And and that's really all you need, right? Music and movement and all of your centers. And of course, if you have a backyard, amazing. You can also have that as an extra outdoor recess time. But you don't have to have recess time or outdoor time in your 2.5 hour window if you don't have a safe backyard out there for your kiddos. Totally fine, not a problem. Some people live in apartment complexes where, going out to the shared neighborhood area, maybe that's not something you want to do. But if you do have a fenced in private backyard with a playground set, or even honestly, just an area they can run around, there's plenty of things that you could help them do within a small area to get their wiggles out, right? But it's not required. I mean, it's not like you have them there all day long. It's only 2.5 hours. And so, what I love is just to remember like, okay, we have two spaces, the kitchen and the living room. How can we use both? How can we feel like we're moving out of one area so we don't feel stagnant and we're just staying in one area the whole time? So, if you're only staying in your living room, I can feel how that would just be like, right? But we can move from one area to the next with just adding a different schedule. So we're going to go from circle time, and then maybe we'll do our going to this kitchen for our table time where we're writing our name, we're doing our fine motor activities, and then we're coming back over to the living room area for perhaps music and movement to get our wiggles out, things like that, right? So we can go back and forth, and we can also spread out the activities. So during center time, where we've got maybe dramatic play going on in the living room, we can have science at the table, sensory on the floor in the kitchen because it's a sensory bin. And you know what I'm talking about if you've ever done a sensory bin, different things like that, right? So we can spread out kiddos into the two different areas, or we could go back and forth and back and forth. Either is great, or both. So that's how you can do it in a small area. Most people, even in a small apartment, have a kitchen and a living room. And perhaps you can't have 12 students in that space because maybe that would just feel really crazy. But perhaps you could have 6, perhaps you could have 4. I think of Denise Shields. She only has 4 students in her in-home preschool program because she's not licensed, and that she is allowed to have 4 students at once in her program. She's done this for like 12 years and she loves it. She loves the small classes. So never once think that, oh, well, I can't have 12 kiddos in my home and therefore I can't have a preschool because my home is small. Go back to the original idea of how can you get started today? Figure out the future stuff. If you ever want to grow in the future, figure it out in the future. I think of Sharice Ellison, who started with a small number of students in her smaller home as well. And at first she thought there is no way, right? I've got living room, kitchen. I don't feel like it's big enough, Joy. I said, just start. You will figure it out. Get your first couple students enrolled. And she did 1, 2, 3, 4. She's gotten her classes full. And she's figured it out. And now at this stage, now with where everything is running and she's able to get testimonials and all the parents are happy and she's starting to feel so much momentum at this stage, this is when she can now have sights on, okay, this is what it looks like if I do this in my home. Do I want to grow? Do I want to expand? Do I want to go find a different building somewhere where I can build a bigger preschool? In that regard, amazing, but you don't have to grow. You can stay small. And what I love is you can charge premium tuition rates because you have such a small program, okay? So if you only got 4 students in your program, guess what? That's a 1-to-4 ratio. That's insanely good, right? I got so excited there. That's insanely good. Okay, So that's the concept of having when you think it's like you have a small program, a small home, but you can still run it locally. Now, let's say you're like, but Joy, and da 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 da. And for whatever reason, like I literally cannot have it in my home, right? Like I have my ailing grandmother in the home, and my husband is on night shift. So he sleeps during the day, and literally our bedroom is right next to the living room, and he could not. And da 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 da. And I've got a whatever, right? And you just go down the list and you give me 10 different excuses of why you cannot do it in your home, even when I just told you you could. Then guess what? You can still run a local program. The way you do that is you just find a different place to do it in. Now, we've had people who do outdoor programs. That means that they meet up at a local park and they do their preschool at the park, or they go to different parks. They rotate, maybe there's 5 different parks in your area. They rotate between them, or, every week they go to a different park. We have different programs who go to different locations. Like it's a field trip almost based experience where so for instance, I think back in Boise, Idaho, there were these really cool foothills, and you could go to and there's like these sand hills and all these things you can climb, and it doesn't matter summer or winter, they were still so fun. And I remember doing homeschooling classes up there. Similarly, you could bring your preschool group up there, and yes, of course, if you feel confident to have 3 other preschoolers with maybe your kiddo, and you can wrangle them and feel confident that in an outdoor scenario without any other supervision, you're good, great. But 12 kiddos on your own with a giant park in front of you, probably not ideal. And in that scenario, you can ask like another parent or 2 to help. And then you just rotate parents. And it's actually pretty fun because they love to see their kiddos having fun. So what I would actually say to you is I feel like the mentality of my home isn't big enough is basically just this roadblock you stuck in front of yourself, and you said it's not big enough, and you're just exhausted, and you're not exhausting any future other ideas, and you're just kind of like staying here like my home isn't big enough, therefore I can never start a preschool right now. Okay, I would like to say, let's remove that, because we've just shown a couple different ways we can do it. Not only can you do it outdoors, you could also find a church to run your program in the church. There are many preschool all-stars who run their programs in churches. And in fact, the churches are typically so happy to work with you because they have empty space during the week that nobody is filling. Churches are notorious for filling it with Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, what other extracurricular programs, dance clinics, things like that. Like they rent out their space during the week because no one is in it, and they've got an empty building. An empty building equals they're paying money and they're not getting any money back. So they love to rent out their space during the week. And if you can give them, hey, I'm going to be here every Tuesday, Thursday from 9 to 11:30 and 12 to 2:30 every single week for forever, right? Or for as long as this works out, and you can sign like a 1-year contract with them, they would love that, right? They'll take a little bit of money in exchange on the flip side of having zero money. Okay. And most churches will actually work with you where they'll say, hey, you don't need to pay tuition or pay us rent. I'm sorry, you don't need to pay rent until you're starting to receive tuition. So therefore, it might take you like a month to kind of get some students in here. It might take you a month to get it set up, but no worries. We're going to like work with you. And then as soon as you start, making X amount a month, then your rent is this much, which is typically really small. Okay. Way smaller than actually renting a building or leasing a complex. Another option is to go find a building where you can actually lease it or rent it. And it's its own building, typically a home that used to be in a commercial. It's like kind of called the CBD, commercial building district. So if you go into like your, the downtown of your area, the downtown of your city, it probably started out being some homes, right? Maybe there was a couple businesses on Main Street, but then homes started surrounding Main Street. But here's what happened. As the city started growing, those homes commonly started turning into businesses where, this little home would turn into a barbershop, and this little home would turn into da-da-da, and turn into a daycare, stuff like that. And so what happens is it's a home, but it's also commercial. And those are beautiful places to put a preschool. And in fact, if you can find a daycare, if you can find a building like a home that used to be a daycare, so it was zoned as a daycare and is no longer operating as a daycare, but is sitting vacant, you can lease that, that is the perfect scenario for you because it's already zoned as a daycare. It's probably already got all the fencing and all the things and the parking and set up for a preschool program, just not a daycare, right? So that's actually what we did when we grew and we leased our schoolhouse. That's exactly how we got that property. You can also go into a business complex, where they always say like, lease this space for $1,000 a month, lease this space for $2,000 a month. I'm just going to caution you right there, and like do all the things I said before you ever get to that point, right? Because if you go into leasing that space, the amount that you see on the advertisement, basically double it, because the lease might be $1,000 a month, but then you add triple net, which is there's like insurance and all sorts of other things and property upkeep and maintenance and things like that. That's what's built into that triple net, and triple net is basically twice as much. So if it's $1,000 lease, you'll have $1,000 triple net. And then basically it's $2,000 a month to actually rent that. But they don't tell you that until you're actually in the talks with them and you're actually looking at the lease. You're like, wait a second, I thought it was $1,000 a month. So just be forewarned. Also, there are rules about being so far away from anyone serving alcohol. So if you're looking in a business complex and there's a bar or a restaurant or someplace that serves, not sells, but serves alcohol within X amount of feet, I think it's 100 feet, but I'm not sure, maybe 200 feet, your city zoning will likely not allow you to put a preschool there. Okay. I do want to backtrack one sec. If you still want to do a local preschool and you're saying, whatever reason I cannot do it in my home, I want you to think about your garage. So obviously if you're an apartment, that doesn't work. But if you do have a home and you're like, still it wouldn't work, but I have a garage. Guys, we converted our garage and it was the best decision ever. And in fact, when we sold our home, the people who bought it were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because they had kids and they love to be able to have this concept that there is a whole new space for them for extra living. The grandparents could come over and have their own separate area, or the kids could go over there and that could be their teen hangout area. Or it could be an extra bedroom. Like it had AC, it had heating, it had windows, and it had a door. Like it had all the things, right? And it had carpet and it had full walls, 4 full walls around it. So it was like looking like another room in the house. And it had, wainscot and all the things, right? Wainscot? I don't remember what wainscot is. It had, I'm looking at them. They're the things on the bottom of the floor where the floor meets the wall. What are those things called? I don't know. Not sideboards. It's right there. Baseboards. Baseboards. They had, so it looked like a house, right? It had all the trim. Look like another room in the house. And anyways, converting your garage, best decision ever. I think it probably cost us about $10,000 when all was said and done to do the walls, the flooring, the AC, the heat, the door, the windows, all of it, right? But we also put a loft in there, which was super cool. So it gave an additional space for that 2-car garage for the kiddos to go up in the loft. It was really cool. Anyway, so that's another option. Now that's all for local, right? Now we come over to the online side. If you want to start an online preschool, you don't need any space at all. You literally need a computer or a phone. Either is fine. And in fact, with our new Done For You preschool classes that we are offering, you don't even need to record yourself teaching preschool. We've actually sourced out not 10, but like I think we have 8 or 6. I don't remember. I think 8 Done For You preschool classes that we've bought from our preschool all-stars because they were so amazing. We're like, hey, you already did this for like a year or 2 of your preschool classes. You already pre-recorded all the content. We're buying it. And they, of course, we signed a contract with them. We said, hey, can we buy this from you and give it to everybody so they can offer it to their preschool families? And they're like, yeah, you bet. And so now you don't even have to record your own preschool classes if you don't want to. You can just sell other preschool class content, which is fantastic. So let's see what else we've got here. So with that, you literally can operate your business with just a laptop, right? Not even needing to use a background or anything. You're just like operating the business on your laptop and marketing it, etc. But of course, if you're going to teach online preschool, then you want to be able to teach. And in that regard, all you need is a wall behind you, right? Or honestly, you don't really, but it's kind of nice to have something behind you so the kids can look at you. Doesn't have to be a wall. It can be like a movable divider. It can be the closet wall. Yes, some of our preschool all-stars have actually done their online preschools in a closet. I'm not joking you. They've stuck their posters on the back of the closet wall, obviously moved all of the clothing out of the closet. I guarantee you, and somewhere in your house, you have an extra closet that is just sitting there that you're like, you know what? I actually could probably move everything out of that closet and I could set up my little home office in there. And all it's got to be, you don't spend your whole day in there, but you can go in there for a good 30 minutes, 60 minutes and be okay, right? Like it's not a big deal. So that is an option for you as well. So you could do it in your master bedroom, have it doesn't have to be a preschool background because you can now do green screen. So you could literally have yourself go anywhere and you could put a green screen just with Zoom. You don't even have to have a green screen behind you. You could just, say you're doing a certain green screen background. It could look all preschooly, right? So there's so many options for you. I don't want you to just put this roadblock in front of you that says my house isn't big enough and just leave it at that. Like, let's not do that, right? Let's say, actually, I think that's just a false belief we have. And that's okay because now that we've seen all the other opportunities, now we can say, oh, okay, I wonder which one feels best for me. I wonder which one feels light and easy for me, and then go do that. Sound good? Awesome, friends. Well, if you haven't gotten a copy yet of my free book, be sure to go grab your copy. It is freepreschoolbook.com. Go to freepreschoolbook.com to get your copy of my book called Start Your Preschool. And then I'll go ahead and drop the link really quick in here as well. This book walks you through the step-by-step of how to start your preschool in your home or online as well, or so locally or online. And what I love about this is it's not just a fluff book. I mean, it truly is the exact steps. Like if I'm going to teach anybody how to start a preschool, I'm walking them through these exact same steps, right? Awesome. I hope this has served you. Be sure to put your best comment or question that you have. What's your biggest question or concern about starting a preschool? And I might just be able to answer your question next time. Again, same time, same place. Join me every day here for a Facebook Live so I can answer your question, hopefully, next time. See you soon.